In the 1960s, the world was divided by an iron curtain. The space race wasn't just about exploration, it was a silent war of ideologies. After the Soviet Union put the first satellite and first human into orbit, President John F. Kennedy issued a dare: land a man on the moon before the decade is out. To leave nothing to chance, NASA didn't just build rockets, they built a system of triple redundancy. Every bolt was checked, every calculation verified by human computers. But the road was paved with tragedy. In 1967, during a routine pre-flight test, a fire erupted in the Apollo 1 cabin. Astronauts Gus Grissom, Ed White, and Roger Chaffee were lost in seconds. It was a brutal reminder: in space, there are no small mistakes. NASA halted everything for 20 months, redesigned the hatch, and turned the mission into an obsession with safety. July 16, 1969. The Saturn V, the most powerful machine ever built, stood 36 stories tall. Inside were Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins. The journey was 3 days of silence and shadows. Out their windows, the Earth shrank to a blue marble, while the moon grew into a monochrome giant. They saw the Earthrise, a sight so fragile it changed their perception of home forever. Communication was maintained by a global network of deep space stations in Australia, Spain, and California. The U.S. government ensured that at least one ear on Earth was always pointed at the spacecraft. On July 20th, the Eagle detached. Michael Collins remained in the command module, the loneliest man in history, orbiting the moon in total radio silence on the far side. As Armstrong and Aldrin descended, the computer began screaming. 12:02 alarm. It was overloaded. Then they realized they were headed for a boulder field. Armstrong took manual control. On Earth, controllers held their breath. They landed with only 30 seconds of fuel remaining. Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. 6 hours later, Armstrong stepped onto the surface. His first act? Taking a contingency sample, stuffing a handful of lunar soil into his pocket, just in case they had to leave immediately. For 2.5 hours, they didn't just walk, they worked. They deployed a seismometer to measure moonquakes, a laser reflector, and collected 47 pounds of rocks. They spoke to President Nixon via a long-distance radio patch, the most expensive phone call in history. Getting home was more dangerous than landing. If the ascent engine failed to fire, the astronauts would be stranded forever. But it worked. Re-entering Earth's atmosphere, the capsule hit the air at 25,000 miles per hour. The heat shield reached 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit. For several minutes, there was a blackout. No communication. On July 24, they splashed down in the Pacific. They were spotted by the crew of the USS Hornet. But the mission wasn't over. Fearing moon germs, the rescue team tossed them biological isolation garments before they even left the water. The trio spent 21 days in quarantine. Medical checks were grueling, looking for any sign of extraterrestrial pathogens. When they were finally released, they were no longer just pilots. They were symbols. The Soviet Union sent a congratulatory telegram, a rare moment of grace in the Cold War. The world didn't see it as an American victory, but a human one. Armstrong's speech echoed the sentiment. They had gone as representatives of a species that refused to stay on the ground. The mission proved that with enough precision, courage, and a refusal to leave things to chance, the impossible was merely a starting point.